Are you ready for this? I think you are. So at this point, what we want to start learning are these nuances that are found in really good blues licks. All right, the next ingredient that we're going to add to our groove is something we like to call the grace notes. Now, the grace note is something where it's where your mistake becomes intent. Now, mistakes are mistakes. And of course, what we like to joke about is when you play more than one mistake at a time, we like to call that jazz. Now, this is something that AI and also MIDI don't really do quite well. You can't really program it all that well. What a grace note is when your finger kind of bounces across another note, but we don't end there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a fourth interval, starting at G and ending on C. Okay? I'm going to start this groove, and I want you to hear this groove first. So it's kind of that 1 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, as I hit that first interval chord, I'm going to bounce across that G flat and end on the G. So I start. Now it's not that. You don't want to hold or linger on that G flat. You want to kind of bounce off the side. The faster the better. Okay? So this is not really a real note, it's a virtual note, but we always want to end on that G. So when you start adding this with the groove of the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, watch how that grace note adds a little bit of color to those chords. Let me show you what I'm talking about. One and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and notice I'm not playing the grace note every time I play the G. I'm playing the grace note on the downbeat. But the and, I just play that G by itself. But that gives it more of a colorful groove. So I'm going to play this one more time. Notice how I'm going to go between this fourth interval. Now I'm also going to add a second chord to this groove, which is an E and G. Okay? But before I play that E, I'm going to throw a nice little grace note on the E flat. So I'll go from here, grace note, here, grace note. Add a little bit of groove. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. We're going to start thinking of different variations and try to follow along with the right hand. So at this point, we are moving away from the left hand. Remember, the left hand's going to be doing the same thing, that same groove, but we like to add a little bit of the different progression in the right hand. No, there aren't really real rules how we add the actual grace notes or the sevenths. At the same time, again, it's a feel of when we want to add it. Again, less is more, but there's a nuance where those grace notes give a bit of a grunginess, a little funkiness, and this is where the really good honky-tonk, jazz, New Orleans stomp sounds come from. It also doesn't matter so much of which fingers you actually play these grace notes, but the key is you want to have some available fingers when you play. So you're noticing I'm using my third finger, my second finger quite a bit. Those are the notes between the G and the G flat, E and the E flat. Those grace notes really mix in with the blues scale. Okay, at this point, it's really good to start learning different types of scales. You may know the basic C major scale, which is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So you probably know that at this point. But the blues scale starts with a C, D, E flat, F, G flat, G, B flat to the C. Now try to play that same scale. try to play it with a bit of a swing. And really try to get your fingers moving around. And when you start playing in different combinations of the scale, notice I started adding the E natural with the E flat. Get fancy, get creative in this scale. Start moving around, start feeling the groove, but the swing in that thing. And play every finger on your hand. Don't just play about 3 or 4 fingers. And if you notice that I like to play a lot of different chords. In the right hand, that right hand's going to be doing some interesting progressions in different chords. And I like to use that high C as an anchor, especially when I'm playing in the C major progression. Remember, always respect that groove, especially in the right hand. Now let's go back to the left hand. What are we going to do in the left hand? We'll keep playing that same pocket. Now let's try to add the blues scale in the right hand. Back to the first position. Fifth position. Watch those grace notes. And so notice I'm throwing in a couple of those grace notes in the right hand, but I'm not overdoing it. And we're gonna actually learn how to start doing some different kind of scales with the right hand. So really listen to some great piano players. There's Scott Joplin, Cole Porter, Fats Domino, Duke Ellington, and those are some of the great jazz piano players. Start listening to people like Harry Connick Jr. I love listening to the Billy Joel Elton John sound, Dr. John, and notice how they really master the use of those grace notes and that groove. Of course, they get a little fancy with some of the finger work, but the grace notes is what is the icing on top. And if nothing else, just remember this. Rock and roll music to me isn't always about the loudest, more intense music. It's really about the combination of these different grooves, the progressions, the dynamics, the rhythms, and when it's all put together in a seamless and flowing state, you got the crowd in the palm of your hands. And it's all about the dynamics and the manipulation that really bring people into it and really keep you guessing, what's he gonna do next? That's really the question, what's gonna happen? Keep them guessing. And if you have enough tools in your tool belt, then you start bringing all these tools together all at the same time or in a very peculiar and very well-rehearsed sequence, then it really doesn't look like you're thinking much at all. You're just playing. But in your head, you know exactly the pieces that you're going to put together beforehand. And it's really all about planning in the moment. And that, my friends, is a rock and roll piano. So if you've made it this far, congratulations. We got one more free video. And if you want to comment about some of the grooves or show me what you're learning, I love to see your progress. So put the videos onto the comments and keep sharing what you're learning. I love to see where everyone is at. Are you ready for the last video? I think you are.